Hello, making another video right now. It is July 20th, 11:35 a.m. So basically the thing that I had to make a video about is the fact that my dad, the Greedy Framer, has already deceived the courts numerous times already. He tried to narrate against me in this trial many times, over and over again. Each and every single time he was caught to be lying, every single time that he was narrating in this trial. So basically, in the year 2025, he was trying to contact me, and the way my mother raised me, I've been really respectful and polite towards everyone, but there's a certain instance where the person just crosses the line, and this man, my dad, the Greedy Framer, who hasn't contacted me, well, more than once every 5 years, was basically now trying to call me every other day, at which point I got the message that this person who is psychotic and basically has an anger management issue, very bad attitude, is now only contacting me every other day because he found out about my brain savant and now wants the monetary potential for himself away from my mother, which was absolutely right, because when I would pick up his phone every single time, he would ask me to go to his house due to the enormous amount of greed that this selfish psychopathic man has, due to which I started ignoring his phone calls, and right afterwards he gets the message and he started to blackmail me with using law enforcement by putting up ads for himself and his Framer sisters in 2025. Obviously he knew about the brain savant that I have, its enormous amount of monetary potential, due to which every single time I would win my case, the psychopath would come running right after me. So June 28, 2025, last year, I won my case, and on June 29th, 2025, last year, he came running after me right next day, begging me all day and night long, despite making videos against me only 2 days prior, to make sure that my brain savant gets locked up so that my mother cannot get any of the money that he knows he cannot get. Basically, a very envious, selfish, psychotic man. He tries this all year long. Tries to gain sympathy from me. On November 1st, he even tries to run after me again, basically trying to say that, oh, I'm going somewhere. Can you ask him if he wants to go? I said, no, I'm not going anywhere with him. He's a psychotic maniac, and he needs to get himself checked out. I will tell you exactly why. A person who's selling his sisters, his own sisters, for sex, basically incest, for illegal assurance of millions of euros, is nothing short of a maniac and nothing else. He needs to get himself checked out, is what he needs. So basically what happened is my dad, the Greedy Framer, on right after November 1st, after I rejected him again, he was like, ask him if he wants to go with me. And I was like, no, I'm not going with you anywhere. So then he told his Framer sister, he's like, go to court. All of you go. Tell them not to free his brain savant. Mainly to make sure that my brain savant couldn't get freed, so that the money that he knows he cannot get, my mother cannot get either, due to extreme envy and no other reason why. Basically, he then begs his Framer sisters and law enforcement to basically fabricate a false testimony against me on November 20th that creates mass panic and chaos. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that in the news media, for days after November 20th, 2025, they could not smile on live TV, and the country had to put aside all their issues to deal with a national security threat, which was what my dad, the Greedy Framer, had put through in the government, where he a national security threat in the courtroom by putting through a false testimony against me that was forced on to his sisters and law enforcement that my dad, the Greedy Framer, basically begged them to make against me. And so basically, yeah, it created so much mass panic and chaos against me because news media people basically knew who I was. They knew I was incapable of committing this crime, and it created so much mass panic and chaos against me that no news anchor or guest on CNN could smile on live TV for days after November 20th, only for us to find out in the end that the crime and setting didn't even exist. And the entire time, my dad's Framer sisters were being asked, are you sure you've seen Hassan commit this crime? And they're like, yes, we saw him commit the crime. He committed it. Only for us to find out that they fabricated the entire thing from their own house, with a government informant present witnessing the entire fabrication process. Not only that, they also were planning on, his Framer sisters and him had already met together, and they were planning on making more lies against me that they had already planned out together from before, that they were going to make against me after November 20th. We know this for a fact due to the fact that his Framer sister, Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson's envious mother, had already told a law enforcement person who was helping them fabricate, quote unquote, in reality he was a government informant, that they had more lies that they were planning on making against me, that they were going to make against me, and that they were going to basically present in court against me to try to frame me. So basically, yeah, December 29, 2025, my dad, the Greedy Framer, is kicked out of court at 1:27 p.m. The reason I know this is that same exact moment when he's kicked out. That's when people reveal their real motive. And the first thing this psychotic maniac does is call law enforcement right away. He's like, send him the money transfer ad. Check if he's going to give me any of the money after his brain savant's freed. Clearly showing through facts and evidences that this is exactly what this man was all about. So after that, I said straight out to law enforcement, I'm not giving anyone a penny. I'm not going to do that. And their bird scanner probably told them the same thing. He's not going to give you a penny. So basically what happened afterwards is he gets kicked out of the court, and he begs court right all day and night long, saying, please give me another chance. Give me another chance. Give me another chance. Let me narrate. The courts wanted to check to see how much of a framer this person was, how much envy he had against me. So basically the courts knew that the government informant was told that they had more lies that they had planned together to make against me even after November 20th. And so the courts wanted to check to see whether or not he was really going to try to frame me even further. And so the courts were like, all right, fine. Narrate, go right ahead. And he made those lies again. The reason he was trying to beg the courts to let him narrate was due to the fact that he had already planned out more lies against me, major lies against me, that he basically wanted to force the courts to take from him, and make sure that my brain savant couldn't get freed at any cost. And then he's allowed to narrate, and then he goes, this is how he committed the crime. Hassan committed the crime. My framer sister saw him commit it. This is how he committed this and that. He was basically lying again. And the courts already knew this, since the courts wanted to check to see and test him how much of national security this guy was going to basically jeopardize, just to fulfill his selfish motive of locking up my brain savant just so that my mother couldn't get the money. And he was lying once again. His framer sisters had already told the government informant that they were planning on making more lies against me even after November 20th. They probably thought, man, if this person is a government informant, we're gone anyway, so might as well tell them everything, since we have already told them about November 20th. So they told the government informant pretty much everything, all the lies they had, even after November 20th, and asked the government informant for his opinion on making those lies against me. So basically, yeah, that's what they did. And so even after November 20th, my dad, the Greedy Framer, and his framer sisters have more lies against me, and they're making them very aggressively due to thinking that that wasn't a government informant, and they did not know. So afterwards, it was just like my dad, the Greedy Framer, thought, man, my lies that I planned out with my framer sisters are all going to get wasted if they don't let me narrate in this trial anymore. And so he begged the courts to let him narrate. The courts basically did let him narrate, and they found out that this psychotic maniac man, my dad, the Greedy Framer, was lying once again. Every single thing that he said was basically off the script that he had already pre-planned with his framer sisters, that his framer sisters had already told the government informant that they had planned to make as lies against me even after November 20th, just to make sure that my brain savant, that they knew that they couldn't get any profit off of, no one else could get either. So yeah, on February 10th, the courts basically had enough of this psychotic maniac, my dad, the Greedy Framer, and they told him straight out, look, we know you're lying. How we know, we can't tell you, but we know you're lying. And so on February 10th, he goes into a mass panic. He's like, what? You know I'm lying for the second time? And February 11th, starting at midnight, 22 minutes past midnight, that psychotic maniac, my dad, the Greedy Framer, starts testing me nonstop. And the text reads, so nice to hear from you after so long, even though the entire day of February 10th, the only hearing we were having was in court, where I was telling the courts my dad is a psychotic maniac. He's exaggerating everything he can. And on top of that, the exaggerations didn't come yet. He's lying about everything is what I said. First, he tried to lie. Exaggerations would only come right now because he can't lie anymore. But basically, yeah. And that's what I told the courts for the second time, even after November 20th. And so February 10th, courts basically told him, and we were fighting in court the entire day, February 10th, and he texted me like a psychotic maniac on February 11th, 12:22 a.m. It says, "So nice to hear from you after so long." And so basically this guy had found out that my brain savant's going to get freed, and he was basically now greedily trying to run after me. This psychotic maniac with his 5-foot-long beard, that same night at 3:17 a.m. sends me a porn star named Sunny Leone's picture with his sister Fur's name on it. Now, you might try to think that, oh, maybe in the accident, this and that, he didn't know Sunny Leone, this and that. He's already told February 11th, 3:17 a.m. that this is an open advertisement for incest. He still sends it March 7th, 2026, 3 times, that same picture with the porn star, clearly showing that this psycho with the 5-foot-long beard knows exactly what he's doing, and he was sending me an invite for incest with his psychotic, big, fat, ugly old sister in exchange for illegal assurances of money. We know this due to the fact that he sent me blackmail price tag for millions of euros all month February. So March 7th, he's sending me incest requests for a big, fat, ugly old sister, Fur the Greedy Framer. And then March 10th, and every single day afterwards, he's sending me pictures of women resembling his sister Afreen, sexually explicit pictures of them, just to try to get illegal assurance of money. This is how greedy this psychotic, selfish man is. Just to try to steal the fruits of my mother's lifelong labor, this psycho maniac who needs some serious help was sending me these sexually explicit pictures, a woman resembling his own sister, Afreen the Greedy Framer, due to his psychotic maniac greed that he was doing this, only because he knew he doesn't deserve a single penny. This is how much of a psycho this person is. Yeah, and so after February 11th, all he did was send me blackmail price tags for millions of euros, along with these incest requests. And on March 12th, he asked me through law enforcement if I was willing to sleep with his big, fat, ugly old wife. You could ask law enforcement. If you knew his wife, you would know that this is not like in return for money. You can't offer, they can't pay me enough to do this, is all I gotta say about this. Basically, the psycho wanted to fulfill her sexual perversions by asking me to sleep with his wife, now that he's already asking me if I wanted to sleep with his sisters or not. Like, if you knew his sister, his wife, you would know that they can't pay someone enough to sleep with his ugly old wife with the big beaver teeth. So yeah, March 12th, just ask law enforcement what he asked them. Okay, so yeah, after the month of March, I just basically made fun of him at my house and told law enforcement straight out, this psycho needs some serious help is what he needs. I'm not paying him a single penny, not one red cent. Big fat zero is what he gets. So he goes into a frenzy, a panic maniac, and starting April 2026, what this psycho does now is he goes back to court, obviously, really predictable. I was just like, go do whatever you want. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not paying you a single penny. No illegal assurances of money. That's not how this trial works. This trial, literally, by the way, has to be one of the most corrupt trials. Not saying anything bad about the honorable judges or the people of the court, but it has to be, from the narrators that law enforcement has chosen, has to be one of the most corrupt trials you could ever think of. 2 days ago was July 18th, whilst making the false testimonies against me, since Ibrahim the Greedy Framer spokesperson has only made lies. November 20th, the following ones, lie upon lie, caught after another time. He knew about November 20th as well, but we found out through questioning. So basically, he's asking me if I want to marry his sister or not, 2 days ago on July 18th. And then his mother's already asked me like numerous times. The only reason he's asking me 2 days ago is because June 24th has been overanalyzed. Okay. And so, yeah, it's just insane that someone would actually be doing this during a trial. And the thing about it is, even today, Fur the Greedy Framer has sent me a request for me to marry her ugly daughter, Zara, whom I've said since June 16th, like, lady, I do not want your daughter. I don't want her. And my dad, the Greedy Framer, has been sending me money, blackmail price tags for me to accept illegal assurance of money. Never heard of this in a trial. People trying to narrate, who have already been caught lying so many times, are sending the defendant blackmail price tags for millions of euros. It makes no sense. Obviously, it makes sense when you find out that I have a brain savant that's literally the most rare and profitable in the world. And now that June 24th has been overanalyzed, we know for a fact that the psycho just wants the money, obviously. And these people do. Ibrahim the Greedy Framer wanted me to marry his sister only 2 days ago on July 18. And Farah the Greedy Framer it has been sending me these requests every single day, including today. This morning I've already received 2 for me to marry her ugly looking weirdo daughter named Zara. And it's like every single day she sends it to me, and every day I say the same thing. I do not want your daughter, lady. I don't want it. And after July 6th, I labeled it a prenup marriage scam. And after July 6th, I've received at least 30 of these prenup marriage scams. Every single day I told her, I was like, look, I don't know if I'm speaking Spanish or Chinese Mandarin or something, but I'm not interested in your daughter, lady. Like, really, thank you very much for asking. And the next day she would send it again, almost as if she's saying, I'm not asking, I'm telling, you know, that sort of thing. She's basically blackmailing me to force me to sign a prenup marriage agreement for that $60 million she sent me at least 8 times since February 21st, 2026. You got to remember the time here. February 21st, 2026. She sent it to me at least 8 times. Blackmail price tag for $60 million. Now, this is the kind of picture that she sends me. This is July 14, 8:51 a.m. This is basically time-stamped. And so let me zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see a little bit better. The psycho woman, the kind of things that she's sending me, basically, yeah. It's this kind of stuff. It's basically the kind of perverted things that no one would send of their own daughter, while literally sending it to me every single day. Look at what the girl in the blue is wearing, very tight tights, and she's basically advertising 2 of her daughters to me now. Not just 1, but 2 of them. And it's just like from June 16, I've been telling her, like, lady, look, I don't want your daughter. I don't know what language you speak, but I'm trying to tell you, I don't want her. Neither one. I don't want them. I'm good. Thank you very much for offering. You know, it's that sort of thing. And she just doesn't get it. She just keeps sending it to me each and every single day, which is like her saying, I'm not asking, I'm telling. Like, you can't force someone to marry your daughter unless if you're running a prenup marriage scam, in which case you are expecting them to run away from you anyways, and then you're just going to try to get money out of them, which is obviously what is going on. You don't have to be a genius to figure this one out, okay? And these people are basically money predators that pretty much run after people that get like lottery money or something of that sort of nature, and they're basically just trying to force me to marry their weird, ugly, abnormal, weirdo daughters that I am not interested in. Look at the girl in the gray. Look at what she's wearing on the top. And look at the girl in the blue. Look at what she's wearing on the bottom. And their mother, who's sending this to me, dresses up like a nun all day long. She dresses up like a nun, and these are the kind of behavior that these people are showing outside of court. Inside of court, they're dressing up like a nun. And outside of the court, look at what the girl in the gray, look at her top. And the girl in the blue, look at her bottom. And like, these people are basically money predators, and that's all there is to it. My dad, the Greedy Framer, has been sending me blackmail price tags for millions of euros each and every single day, starting February 10th. Or maybe February 11th. But even incest requests, everything. Incredibly psychotic is what this man is. He's already asked me to commit incest with all of his sisters, offering the Greedy Framer spokesperson that big, fat, ugly old fart. March 10th, and every single day after March 10th, 2026, the sick man has sent me a sexually explicit picture of a woman resembling his own sister every single day. Like, he needs to shave off his beard. Like, it's a sign of being religious. What is wrong with this man? Seriously. So, the 3rd time after he's been caught already, in November 20th, 2025, basically, yeah, he gets caught, and he gets kicked out of the witness stand on December 29th, 2025, exactly 1:27 p.m. I knew right away that he'd been kicked out because the first thing he did was send me money transfer ad for Ria money transfer ads. Yeah. It's when you get kicked out, you feel like the brain savant's been released, that you reveal your true motive. And he went right for the money. He calls law enforcement right away and says, check right now. His brain savant's about to get freed. Is he going to give me money or not? Send him real money transfer. It's like, I'm not giving you a penny. I'm not even going to make you any illegal assurances of money. I'm not giving anyone any money. Okay. I'm not helping law enforcement run scams on these girls either. Which is basically what they're doing. And every single day they threaten to break my car, take out oil from it, all these things. That girl could be my daughter. Like literally, the woman I'm gonna marry obviously is gonna be a good-looking white lady, and my daughter could look like that girl that they're trying to scam. And you know what? I feel like punching these people in the face. Like, that's someone else's daughter. Like, if that was my daughter and someone came over to my house and they're just like, they're really rich and they're a good person, they're nice to me, I would let my daughter go sleep over at their house as long as they look like they were going to marry her, you know, make promises and you could take her. But this is a scam. They're sending me threats to break my car if I don't sleep with the girl and then pass around all these weirdos in law enforcement who basically work the same thing as my sister, paid the same amount, and literally get into fights every day at work, getting an early retirement this year. Or the other guy who's a drug addict, overdoses on his drugs every single week and ends up in the emergency room. I'm not going to sleep with her and then scam her and then pass around all these lowlifes. I won't sleep with anyone, period. Proving to the courts that I wasn't the sexual predator in the first place. Since right now, not only am I being requested, I'm being blackmailed to sleep with these girls and pass them around like they're someone else's property, not someone's daughter. And I'm proving to the courts right now by refusing that, despite being told that my car is going to get broken if I don't, that I am refusing being able to sleep with these girls because it's the wrong thing to do, and law enforcement is threatening to break my car if I don't do it. Anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I was trying to talk about is basically just the fact that so the third time my dad, the greedy framer, he is going to court, which like after sending me blackmails all month of March. And starting March 10th, he sends me sexually explicit pictures of a woman resembling his sister, Offrey. And I was just like, do whatever you want. I'm not paying. I'm not giving any illegal assurance of money. I've got my mother to take care of, and these methods are not going to work on me. I've lived a pretty tough life, believe it or not. My mother was a really poor woman. She worked at fast food restaurants and she used to work at factories at night. I might look really regressed with this face, but that's only because of autism. I've had a really tough life. I've worked really, really hard, even slept on the streets with lizards crawling all around me, been homeless in places where I wouldn't have a place to hang my towels. I work really, really hard in life. In the end of the day, God gifted me with a brain savant like no one else has had in this world right now. Literally in the entire planet, no one else has it. You know how famous Rain Man is, and I have innovation focusing along with that as well. Clearly proven from the overanalyzing of the June 24th brain savant test from just last month, and the fact that, you know, artificial intelligence is not going to lie for me, and I'm not psychic enough to know what the report says without anyone even telling me. So yeah, basically, yep. So after sending me these sexually explicit pictures of a woman resembling his sister, Offrey, starting March 10 every single day afterwards, and for the greedy framer, February 11th at 3:17 a.m., he's been told that it's open advertisement for incest. He says, I don't care. I'm going to try to get money so that my mother can get it, basically. And I'm not going to refuse the old woman the fruits of her labor. She's going to get paid, and generously, as soon as my brain savant's freed. You can rest assured. And this psycho old man who's been trying to blackmail me right now all day and night long, he won't get a penny out of me. He could do whatever he wants. He could go to the news media and claim that November 20th was a true testimony. I'm not running for office. So in early April 2026, he goes back to court, and very aggressively, the man is making more lies. Like, I know I've lied till now, but this time I'm telling the truth. And he abuses every single person in the courtroom, and he makes more lies. Sick and tired of the abuse, the courts basically tell him, like, you're abusing everyone in the courtroom. You do know that, sir. Because he would be like, you're twisting my words, you're twisting my words. Only because every single statement that he would make would have flaws in it. And then he would start crying like, you're twisting my words. The courts got sick and tired of the abuse. He was berating people in the courtroom. He was yelling and screaming at them. He was harassing them. The courts were sick and tired of the harassment. At the end of the day, the courts told him when April 2026 was ending, like, sir, we've had enough of your abuse. You've been yelling, berating everyone in the courtroom every single day. But right now, we're going to retrieve each and every single phone conversation. If we find out you're lying to us for the third time, playing national security for a fool to try to obtain your own personal selfish motives, then we got to let you know that we're going to take this thing very seriously. National security is not something to be played around with, and that's exactly what you're trying to do for the third time. If we find out that you were lying again from the phone conversations retrieved, and I told the honorable judges, I said, Your Honor, you're going to find out that each and every single statement that this man, my dad, the greedy framer, has said, due to extreme envy of my brain savant and my mother getting the money, due to it literally being the most rare in the world, I am Kim Peek Rain Man, fully functioning member of society as well, by the way. And you're going to find out that every single statement that this psychotic, ugly old man with this 5-foot-long beard has said, complete total lie. From the facts and evidence is retrieved from the phone conversations, and it's actually exactly what happened. He abused everyone in court starting April 2026, only to make sure that no one dared to talk against him when his statements were questioned, because they were all false, by the way. They all have flawed. He'd be like, twisting my words, you're twisting my words. And he would try to take the statements back or rephrase them. When the facts and evidences came out at the end of April 2026, we found out that this sick, disgusting, ugly old man, my dad, the greedy framer, was lying all throughout the month of April 2026, only to enviously lock up my brain savant because I wasn't willing to sleep with his big, fat, ugly old fart sisters in order to give him illegal assurance of the millions of euros that he was blackmailing me with price tags of the entire month of March while sending me all these disgusting requests for me to sleep with his big, fat, ugly old sisters. Yeah, law enforcement is a witness to all of this. So basically, I told the judges, I was like, Your Honor, you're going to find out from the facts and evidences retrieved from the phone conversations that my dad, the greedy framer, lied about every single statement that he made, and that is exactly what happened. Now that he's been caught with way too many lies, the only thing that he's got is trying to exaggerate claims. Now, you have to remember that the war occurred when I was an 11-year-old child in the year 2001, which means that he's going to try to exaggerate claims that things that occurred when I was a child, not speaking of exactly what he did in the year 2011. Before we get down to what happened as a child, let me tell you what happened in 2011. I've only met my dad 3 times in my entire life. Never lived with him. I've only lived with my mother my entire life. Never even lived in the same country as my dad, the greedy framer. Even when I was overseas, never talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for someone that I've never lived with, even in the same country or talked to on the phone, to have had any influence on my life or environment whatsoever. I never talked to anyone from his side of the family. His sister Farah made a false sexual accusation against me that she confessed to Sohaib over the phone, so I never even went near her, so she can't claim that she had any influence on my life or environment whatsoever. So my dad, the greedy framer, I've only met him about 3 times my entire life, and one of those times was in the year 2011 when I went to go meet him. My dad, the greedy framer, was calling people to his house in the masses, giving them sermons to join terror groups and commit mass murder in the name of jihad, and basically kill innocent human beings in the masses, so much so that it acquired the attention of law enforcement, obviously. And law enforcement had one of two choices. Either they would tip him off or start an investigation. Well, before they did any of that, what they ended up doing was they sent a government informant, and the government informant sat right next to my dad, the greedy farmer, on one of the last days that he was giving his sermon, basically the last day. And my dad, the greedy farmer, wouldn't stop. He would keep telling people that to join terror groups, commit mass murder, and this man had been doing this for years. You got to remember, he loves attention, so he calls himself the head of the Tablighi Jamaat, and he gives sermons like an imam of a mosque, a very dangerous imam of a mosque, by the way. And he would call people over to his house and give them sermons. And I could tell you exactly what was going on the very last day. So every single day he would do this till the last day. A government informant came to his house. He was sitting right next to him, and my dad, the greedy farmer, wouldn't stop trying to recruit people to join terror groups. And my dad, the greedy farmer, would be giving sermons on jihad and mass murdering innocent human beings. And the government informant basically tried to stop him. He was like, Mr. Ansari, you don't think that maybe jihad, the concept of it has really changed, and it's different from how it should be in our religion. He would interrupt that guy. He'd be like, no. He wants the attention, okay? He's a psychopath, basically. He goes, no. Let me say this. That man, the government informant, by the way, was trying to twist his words. His own way of, his own favorite phrase, twist my words. He was trying to twist his words, and he should have let him, but he didn't let him. And instead, what he does is he stops the government informant. He goes back to giving the sermons, and he gives the sermons on mass murdering innocent human beings, joining terror groups to do so, and saying that this is what the definition of jihad is, and that everyone should take a part in this, and that this should go on. Basically, this man, how many people he had encouraged to do this? How many people joined terror groups? How many people have been mass murdered? We have no clue, because law enforcement didn't handle it the right way. After that day, law enforcement basically tipped him off. Everything was over, and I knew right away that he was tipped off because there was a circus going on in his house every single day. And one day a government informant showed up, and the next day all the circus animals, the tents, every single thing is gone. Obviously he was tipped off by some way through law enforcement. Either law enforcement contacted his sisters and told him to tell him, like, if he doesn't stop right now, we're gonna have to start an investigation, or they told him himself. But literally every single day there's a circus at his house in 2011. There are tents there, animals there, circus, the entire noise and everything, the music, the noise, everything is there, the lights are there, and then every single day the circus there with the circus animals. The very last day there's a government informant that shows up, and after that day all the tents are gone, circus animals are gone, the noise is gone, the people are gone, every single thing cleared out. Yes, he was tipped off by law enforcement, and he was doing this for a very long time. How many people he had joined terror groups, we do not know. How much mass murder he's had been responsible for, we do not know. How much people's lives he's affected, we do not know. But every single thing that I'm telling you right now is backed by facts and evidences. You can find the government informant. You could check the script. Don't ask the government informant, okay? Check the scripts. Check what my dad, the greedy farmer, was saying. Was he or was he not giving sermons on jihad? And if he was, then was it a good idea to tip him off, considering the fact that he'd been doing this for years, and we don't even know how many people had joined terror groups, how much mass murder he'd committed, how much lives he's ruined? We do not know, and it was not investigated only because it was handled the wrong way. He was tipped off, just like how Assad was tipped off with the wedding incident. And right now, Assad was found guilty beyond reasonable doubt, only for Assad to pack up his things and leave like nothing even happened. And the law enforcement basically whispered into Assad's ears, don't answer any questions, just walk out of here, don't answer questions. Because obviously law enforcement covered over it. The year 2023, right after August 25th, 2023, when I won my case, law enforcement tried to frame me for the wedding incident. You know what law enforcement was doing the entire year of 2023? Running unemployment disability fraud and transferring the money to their friend in law enforcement, the same person in law enforcement who fabricated the group chat false testimony against me, and the same person in law enforcement who was found only 9 days ago on July 11th fabricating another false testimony against me. He's the person whom law enforcement would have the money transfer, wire transfer number, account number, phone number, contact info, everything given to their BFF who would run these unemployment disability fraud. Law enforcement would basically say, you take some, we take some, and then whatever we want, we give you the wire transfer number, you give it to this person. And law enforcement the entire year of 2023 was running sex schemes with Uncle Joey in November 2023, giving him protocol like the kind of that a sitting governor would envy, telling him my whereabouts to try to get me to go near him, only so that they could record the old thing as Uncle Joey related to the man with a triple brain savant, and see how nice of a guy he is. He's Uncle Joey, like Full House Uncle Joey. He's such a nice guy. You should totally sleep with him, sort of thing. This was what law enforcement was doing in the year 2023 when they wanted to frame me for the wedding incident only because they didn't want to let me study with my brain savant powers. Yeah, so basically, after law enforcement tipped them off, it was no secret that the entire circus tents were removed, animals gone, noise gone, people were removed, only because they tipped off my dad, the greedy framer. People don't just change like that overnight, and law enforcement didn't handle it right, exactly how they always handle it. I have to say, no disrespect, but November 20th was handled by the government, and it was handled excellently. They not only took out from my dad, the greedy framer, his sisters, exactly what they were doing for November 20th, but all the lies that they had planned out, that my dad, the greedy framer, and his framer sisters had planned out, everything taken out of them. Very good job, excellent work there. Really, literally saved my life over there. These people would have ruined it if the government had not done this. So basically, my dad, the greedy framer, what he was doing in 2011 for years, getting people to join terror groups and all of this, he's going to ignore all of this and try to exaggerate something that someone said around me when I was an 11-year-old child, since the war occurred when I was an 11-year-old child. And the thing about it is, whatever anyone could have said around me would have been one of law enforcement's BFF, just like my dad, the greedy framer. The only difference is that BFF would have been a much better BFF than my dad, the greedy framer, could ever imagine being. And that person would have only have said something around me, not do, which is what my dad, the greedy framer, was doing in 2011. Extremely dangerous, by the way. We do not know how many people he's sent to terror groups, how much mass murder he's committed, what he's done for years and years, while claiming himself to be the head of the Tablighi Jamaat, basically a very dangerous imam, basically, is what my dad, the greedy framer, was. And whatever he's trying to exaggerate, saying that someone said something around me as a child, you gotta remember, it's only saying, it's not doing. In 2011, and for years before that, my dad, the greedy framer, was doing something by encouraging people to join terror groups. And the last day of the circus is the day that I was there. I saw it for days before the circus tents were removed, only because there was a government informant, and I've given you detailed descriptions of that government informant and the entire conversation of that government informant right before they tipped him off, and he turned off, literally, like, the circus is there in town every single day, and one day it's all gone. Poof, everything gone. Like, either this guy had a change of heart or he's been tipped off. And I was like, I'll take my chances he's been tipped off, and the people tipping him off are law enforcement because they have a habit of doing this. Yeah, that's basically what happened. And he's going to try to exaggerate something that someone said around me when I was a child. You got to remember, it's still saying. No one did anything. No one joined terror groups. No one encouraged someone else to do so. We have no record of, and not possibility for someone to have committed mass murder or done anything to anyone like what my dad, the greedy framer, has been doing for years before 2011, before law enforcement tipped him off instead of investigating him, exactly what they did with Assad. And so, yeah. So basically, that is what happened. And whatever anyone could have said around me as a child, you got to remember, my mother had already spoken with law enforcement from beforehand. It's only saying it's not what my dad, the greedy framer, had been doing for years before 2011. That was doing, and extremely dangerous, by the way. It would only be saying, and only around me as a child, and that too after my mother had already spoken with law enforcement from beforehand when I was an 11-year-old child, letting law enforcement know that she was a single mother. And as a single mother, she had to let me be around anyone who was willing to watch me for free, adult supervise me, till I reached the age where I could be left at home alone. even slightly mentally mature as a child, just like how she said on February 15th at 8:30 p.m. Now, after getting permission from law enforcement, then my mother left me behind with anyone willing to watch me for free. You know for a fact, both me telling the truth right now and my mother told the truth when I was an 11-year-old child, due to the fact that my mother would never be present in that setting ever. She would be at work. Clearly proven from the fact that she wouldn't be present in that setting. So basically, my mother told the truth when I was an 11-year-old child. I'm telling the truth right now. You know this for a fact because my mother would never be present in that setting. And after I gained even the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could have been ever said around me, except for that one time in 2011 when I had to go and meet my dad, the Greedy Farmer, on the 1 of 3 times I've ever met him. And after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, as my mother said on February 15, 8:30 p.m., I have never lived with anyone except for my mother. Never even lived in the same country as my dad, the Greedy Framer, or talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for someone of that type to have had any influence or effect on my life or environment whatsoever. So basically, yes. You got to remember the fact that every child deserves a second chance. I was just a child, and it wasn't anyone saying anything. It wasn't doing, which was what my dad, the Greedy Farmer, was doing in front of me. He was encouraging people to go join terror groups in the year 2011. I've given you detailed description and the script of the government informant even being visible, clearly visible, and they're at the scene and setting when I was there in 2011, the circus being closed down, literally one day suddenly, due to which I knew that he was tipped off. How would I know that he was tipped off if there wasn't a circus going on every single day and it suddenly disappeared one day? Obviously, I'm telling the truth, and that it did create so much panic among law enforcement that they had one of two choices of either investigating it or tipping him off, because if they investigated, they would not want to know the results, how many people have been mass murdered and joined terror groups. So due to them not wanting to know the results, what they ended up doing was they tipped him off, due to which I knew for a fact that the circus doesn't just end like that one day suddenly, unless either it's a person that gets tipped off or has a change of heart. He's not the change of heart kind. He was tipped off. And so what he'd been doing till 2011, extremely dangerous thing, sending people to join terror groups, committing mass murder, innocent human beings whose lives were being lost. And it's incomparable to anything anyone could have said around me as a child, since no one was joining terror groups, no one was encouraging others to do so, definitely not in front of me, and nothing of that sort of nature occurring around me as a child, which means that, you know, especially consider the fact that my mother had already gotten permission from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, I think it would be safe for me to ask for me as a child, when I hadn't even gotten the slightest bit of mental maturity yet in the world, to please get another chance, please, sir. Mainly because, you know, my mother's promise was fulfilled, and from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, I've never been even remotely in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever again. And you have to remember the fact that a single mother can only provide so much for her child, especially when it's a child. I couldn't work as a child when I hadn't even gained the slightest bit of mental maturity to help my mother out to get me a really nice daycare. When I was in college, you know, my mother had a hard time paying for my food. So what I ended up doing, and law enforcement should be a witness to this, I ended up tutoring someone for food, and he would give me food in return. And one time he tried to cheat me with the food, and I actually ended up going and stealing from his kitchen and letting him know when he was back from his cigarette break that, look, man, I stole your food. And in the starting, he was really rude, and he was like, shame on you for stealing my food. But then I was just like, look, if you want me to tutor you, you're going to have to share your food with me, or else you're just going to fail and end up not getting your college degree, but you're going to have to share your food with me if you want to do that. I was able to do that as an adult. I was able to tutor someone in exchange for food. As a child, I couldn't do that. I can't work and give her money so that she could get me a better daycare. She was a single mother, and she'd already talked to law enforcement, and she told them, look, I'm a single mother, very dependent. Till my child becomes even slightly mentally mature, this is the only option I have. Anyone who's willing to watch him for free, I'll put him there, and I can give assurance to the court right now, me, that my mother would never be present there. Clearly showing from facts and evidences that I'm telling the truth, and my mother was as well. And my dad, the Greedy Framer, who's trying to exaggerate everything as much as possible, you have to remember the fact that he's lied every single statement he's made. Not only that, he's even gotten his kids to lie in court against me right now. And even his kids have been caught lying against me, making false testimonies against me. This man has lied with every single statement he's made. He's even had his kids make false statements against me. Clearly proven from facts and evidences that this man is an envious, greedy, selfish man. He doesn't deserve a single penny of my brain savant money, and he wants to enviously lock it up so my mother can't get any of it either. And so basically, if anyone did say anything bad around me as a child when I was being adult supervised, you have to remember the fact that there was nothing anyone could have done about it. If I went back in time right now, I would still be adult supervised by the same exact people. You know why? Because I still couldn't work and give my mother the money to get me into a daycare. I still wouldn't have any other options. There still wouldn't be anything else that a mother working at a fast food restaurant could do, except for make sure from the moment I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity to make sure that I was never seen in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could ever be said around me ever again. The other thing my mother could do is make sure that if she ever saw anything bad, which I can guarantee the court she would never be present in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me, that she would make sure that I was never seen in any of those settings ever again. And we know this for a fact due to the fact that from my conversation with my mother from Russia, she clearly said that she once caught Uncle Joey with a dirty chat online while adult supervising me, due to which she never let me near him ever again. The facts and evidences will prove that despite law enforcement harassing me over and over again, trying to force me to go meet Uncle Joey so I would help them with his sex scheme ads, from that moment when I was a child till this very day today, I have never met Uncle Joey, regardless of how many times law enforcement tried to get me. They once tried to force me to talk to him over the phone, showing me Full House Uncle Joey, saying he's going to play Uncle Joey from Full House. You got to talk to him on the phone so we could run a sexing ad over the phone. I said no. They tried to force me to go to the funeral so they could run a sexing ad for Uncle Joey, claiming to be related to the guy with the triple savant, so they could show a different woman and be like, here's Uncle Joey. What a nice guy. You should sleep with him. I said no. Then they tried to bring Uncle Joey over to Maryland again and told him intelligence info on my whereabouts so that he could stalk me right after I came back from work and stand next to me. They texted Uncle Joey and said, Uncle Joey, get out of the car right now. Go stand next to Hassan, and we're videotaping this for all the women that are watching. They did this, and I still said no. And I just grabbed my mother's bag and I went home. From that moment, I was a child. My mother took me out of every setting till this very day today. I've never even remotely been present in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me. My dad, the greedy framer, has lied. Every single statement that he's made right now, till now, all lies. He's even had his kids make lies against me in court. Absolute falsehood, only due to extreme envy of my mother getting the brain savant money, which I will not ever let him have a single penny of. I can guarantee you that much. He will never smell a single penny of that money. And so basically, that's the only reason he's fighting right now. Make sure my mother cannot get any of the brain savant money that he knows he doesn't deserve a single penny of, despite him trying everything from incest with his big, fat, ugly old sister, Fire the Greedy Framer, February 11th, 3:17 a.m., then again, March 7th, 3 times, even though he was told that it's incest, then March 10th, 2026, offering the big fat ugly old predator sending sexually explicit pictures of women resembling her every single day. I said no to all of it, and he was sending me blackmail price tags for millions of euros, and I was just like, you're not getting a penny out of me. You don't deserve a single penny. This is no way of asking, and this is a very disgusting thing to even ask for illegal assurance of money with your 5-foot-long beard. I'm not doing this. So I said no right away. But you have to remember that every single thing my dad, the greedy framer, has said till now, every single thing has been a lie. And no matter how much he tries to exaggerate, this person had this around me or that around me, it cannot be what he did in 2011 and what he was doing for years, encouraging people to join terror groups and commit mass murder. It cannot even compare to it, because at the end of the day, no matter how much he exaggerates, no one joined any terror groups. No one was attempted to join any terror groups. No one was telling you to go commit mass murder. No one knows. No one has any no one knows that they have to do an investigation, how many people were radicalized or anything like that. No, nothing like that. It could only be someone saying something and not doing something. And you have to remember the fact that every child deserves a second chance, especially considering the fact that my mother had already spoken with law enforcement from beforehand and already asked law enforcement and told them that, hey, look, my child, I have to leave him. There's no other option. I have to leave him with anyone willing to watch him for free. I cannot afford any daycare. I'm a single mother working at fast food restaurants. And that's exactly what she did. And so there was no other option that she had. That was literally the only option that my mother had. You got to remember, a single mother can only do so much, you know, and a child living with that single mother can do absolutely nothing. So as an adult, when I was in college, my mother wasn't able to send me money for food. Law enforcement is a witness to the fact that I was in pharmacy school and I used to tutor someone for food. And one time, you know, he just tried to cheat me with his food, and I was just like, look, I'm tutoring you. And he went for a cigarette break, and when he came back, I had already stolen all the food from his kitchen. And I told him straight out, I was like, look, you want me to tutor you, you're gonna have to share your food with me. If you don't, and in the start he was being rude. He was like, shame on you for stealing it. I was like, if you want me to tutor you, you're gonna have to share your food with me. If you don't think that you're even gonna be able to get this college degree, by the way, just letting you know, no one else is going to tutor you. And he just straightened out after that. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, yeah, well, yeah, I had to do stuff like that, and I was able to do so as an adult. You know, I could get stuff done when I'm older. I could tutor people for food and things of that sort of nature when I'm in school. I can't do that as a child. If I was put back in that same position, there's nothing I could do. You know, I'm not going to make money and give it to my mother and be like, look, just take this money and put me in better daycare. Like, I'm a child. I can't do that. I can't even work. So you have to look at the fact that what happened at that scene, even if someone said something, it's only saying, and these people are only exaggerating due to the fact that every single statement that they've made so far has been found to be a complete total lie. Every single one of these people, whether it's Ibrahim the Greedy Framer spokesperson since November 20th, Farah the Greedy Framer spokesperson, or my dad the Greedy Framer spokesperson, all of these people have been lying over and over again. And so basically, yeah, you have to look at the fact that my mother had already made a promise and a deal. That deal was fulfilled the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child, never for me to ever again be seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad was ever said around me ever again, except for that one time in 2011 when I had to go meet my dad, the Greedy Framer. Once out of the 3 times I've ever met him in my life. I've never, by the way, even though after gaining the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I've never been in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could have ever been said around me ever again, despite me never living with anyone except for my mother, ever in my entire life, never even living in the same country as my dad, the Greedy Framer, or talking to him on the phone, making it impossible for this person of that type to have had any influence or effect on my life or environment whatsoever. And, yeah. And so, yeah. And my mother raised me, and not only that, she's never been heard uttering one word considered bad her entire life. Forget recruiting people to join terror groups for years and years before 2011, like how my dad, the Greedy Framer, was doing, which was not handled and investigated correctly. But forget doing something like that. My mother has never been heard uttering one word considered bad her entire life. Not from day one that she's been watched. And with a brain scanner attached to my brain for years, you know for a fact I loved every single person of every race, religion, ethnicity, whether they were Christian, Jewish, or Orthodox Jewish with long beards. And I met everyone at work. I loved each and every single person with the same level of love and respect, just like how my mother is and how she raised me to be like. So you know from a brain scanner what my brain is really like and how I think and I behave before law enforcement told me about a brain scanner due to their sex addiction, mainly giving me a list of girls to choose from. Anyways, that brain scanner will prove that for years that it was used on me, I loved and respected every single person of every race, religion, ethnicity, and I was raised by a single mother, never lived with anyone except for her my entire life, never even lived in the same country as my dad, the Greedy Framer, never talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for someone of that that I never lived with or talked to on the phone to have had any influence on my life or environment whatsoever. And so, yeah, that brain scanner will prove beyond a reasonable doubt exactly the fact that my thought process and how I feel about other people, on how I make my plans, and how I love every single person, every race, religion, ethnicity. I never even attempted to do anything bad towards anyone my entire life. And my mother has never been heard uttering one word considered bad, despite being watched with me since 2001. She was never around when I was being adult supervised by one of law enforcement's own BFFs till I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. And after which time my mother's promise was fulfilled. I was never even remotely present in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have ever been said around me ever again, except for that one time in 2011, one out of the 3 times I've ever met my dad, the Greedy Farmer, in my life. I've never lived with anyone but my mother my entire life, and right now my dad, the Greedy Farmer, and all the people that he's got to make narrations against me, as far as the Greedy Farmer spokesperson Ibrahim, have all made lies against me. All their statements were lies, complete and total lies that one person would make, the other would, all the rest of them would basically repeat it over and over and over again. And right now, all of them are sending me blackmail price tags for millions of euros that my dad, the Greedy Farmer, is doing through law enforcement. And Ibrahim is asking me to marry his sister 2 days ago. For the Greedy Farmer is not advertising one daughter, she's advertising 2 daughters to me in a very sexually provocative way that, no one dressing up like a nun should ever do. This is July 14th, not that long ago, July 14th, 8:51 a.m. Okay, look at the picture over here. Let me show it to you. This is not the kind of behavior that you would expect from a nun. All right, look at the bottom for the blue girl, and look at the top for the gray girl. Is this the kind of behavior that you would expect from a woman dressing up like a nun? The kind of picture that a woman dressing up like a nun should be sending of her daughters to you? I don't think so. It doesn't look like a picture that a woman dressing up like a nun should be sending of her own daughters to any guy out there. The top for the gray girl. Look at the bottom for the blue girl. And the mother dresses up like a nun all day, sending me these pictures for her daughter. She's advertising not 1, but 2 daughters, and the facts and evidences will show that around July 14th, she was advertising 2 daughters to me only because they overanalyzed June 24th, finding out from facts and evidences that I am Kim P. Grade Man, probably the only fully functioning member of society who's autistic, who's on a triple savant, has innovation, photographic memory, and focusing, giving me higher chance of becoming extremely rich than any other human being on this planet, unless you could find another person who's a triple savant, who artificial intelligence has marked as being able to do cover to cover for something as dry as Aaron Ball's medicinal chemistry in less than a day's time, which means that in 30 days time, I'd have more than 30,000 pages, along with innovation being a superpower as well. Statistically, almost, I would say, impossible for me to not have zero tolerance coffee done in 30 days, which we will find out in 30 minutes, by the way, which I laugh at because it's become a joke now, and I'm not even going to ask law enforcement to do a 30-minute test because June 24th has been overanalyzed, and yesterday they've been threatening to have the police called on Junaid again, due to which he had to beg his sisters to go and narrate in the trial against me because he was too humiliated to do so. Running after other people's daughters to try to scam them when these people would shed tears of blood if someone was claiming to be a CEO and he was getting an early retirement married with 2 kids at that time, working the same job as my sister, earning the same amount. They wouldn't be really happy if someone was trying to use their daughter to do the same thing that they want to do to other people's daughters. Extremely sad. And yeah, vulnerable girls living alone that these people are trying to scam, and and now they're threatening to break my car, and they're threatening to basically they're saying that if you don't help us, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna break your car. This is July 20th, 8:22 a.m. this morning. Today, right now is July 20th. Okay, this is Pep Boys commercial. Basically, let me show it to you. Okay, basically it is a Pep Boys commercial. Yeah, and they're basically saying that if you don't help us, we're gonna break your car. And it's not just this. Let me show you something. It's more than this. They're also they also have Jiffy Lube in there to try to say that we're gonna take oil out of your car. This is yesterday morning, July 19th at 9:23 a.m. Jiffy Lube right there. Look. A Jiffy Lube commercial trying to tell me that threatening to take oil out of my car only because I'm not scamming other people's daughters. So who's the sexual predator now? Right now would have been excellent time for me to go scam these people's daughters, which I will never do. Rest assured, I will never do this because I don't want to do this to my own daughter. I wouldn't want it done to her, and I don't need to do it. When my brain savant gets freed, I get married to the girl I want to get married to, live happily ever after afterwards. There's no need to add trouble. Not saying that these girls are trouble. All I'm saying is there's no need to do this for me, and I'm not going to help scam someone else's daughter anyways. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Thank you.